Hello friends, welcome to Knowledge House. Right now let's look into today's The Hindu newspaper that is of date 10th of August 2018. So while analyzing we'll be giving importance only to articles that are important from a UPSC perspective. So let's start. I welcome you all to this video. So the first is regarding the Supreme Court alters Lodha panel proposal. So the Supreme Court has finalized the new constitution for the BCCI, rejecting the one state, one vote recommendation of Justice R.M. Lodha committee and altering the cool-off period for cricket bosses. So the bench, headed by Chief Justice Deepak Mishra on Thursday, disagreed with Justice Lodha that cricket could prosper only if BCCI was represented by every state and every union territory. So the former CJI, that is Justice Lodha, has relegated cricket associations to the status of associated members. Instead, the court restored full BCCI membership to three associations in Gujarat and Maharashtra. And noting the words of Justice D.Y. Chandrachud, to utilize territoriality as a basis of exclusion is problematic because it ignores the history and contributions made by such associations to the development of cricket and its popularity. So there is a stark differences between the Lodha Committee recommendation and what the Supreme Court has now said. So Lodha Committee said regarding the voting rights, it should be one state, one vote. But right now, as we just read, Supreme Court has done away with that. And regarding the cooling off period, Lodha Committee recommended that is after one term and an official at the helm of the BCCI should take a cool off period. But Supreme Court verdict has said the same cool off period should be after two consecutive terms. And regarding the age gap, Lodha Committee recommended 70 years, but there was no comment regarding the same on Supreme Court verdict. And the tenure of the post and membership of the BCCI are also mentioned here. So the tenure of the post is the decision is pending regarding the Supreme Court comment, and Lodha Committee recommended regarding the membership in BCCI, no full membership to the associations with no state entity, but the Supreme Court verdict allows services, railways, and other association of Indian universities to have full membership in BCCI. So that's all important about this particular article. Moving on to the next one, it is regarding the note for 3 changes to Triple Talaq Bill. So now these 3 provisions to the Muslim woman protection of rights and rights on marriage, which makes instant triple talaq illegal and imposes a jail term up to 3 years, provide additional safeguards from the act being misused. So the proposed law will remain non-bailable. That is, police cannot grant bail, but the accused can approach the magistrate for bail even before trial. So another provision is with regard to making the process of registering FIR. So any husband giving triple talaq instantaneously and breaking the marriage, the FIR will become cognizable only if only when the FIR is filed by victim's wife or a blood relation or relations by marriage. Therefore, any outside agency or neighbor initiating this process is ruled out. So first is regarding the bail process, second is regarding the FIR, and the third amendment makes the offense of instant triple talaq compoundable. Now a magistrate can use his powers to settle the dispute between a husband and his wife. So that these are the 3 changes. That's all about this particular article. Moving on to the next one, it is regarding the presence of criminals in politics. So that's what the Supreme Court has expressed their anguish at the helplessness of the society to prevent the criminalization of politics at every entry point. So Chief Justice was presiding over a 5-judge constitution bench hearing the petition to bar politicians facing charges of heinous crimes like murder, rape and kidnapping from contesting elections and transforming themselves into parliamentarians and legislators. So the Supreme Court made a comment that that is Justice Rohinton Nariman. The court declares the law and the parliament declares the law, but the court declares the law and parliament makes the law. That's what Supreme Court, that's what Justice Nariman observed. So the court is mulling over what it is said as a genuine concern about criminal politics. Under the People's Representation Act, only convicted lawmakers are disqualified, not accused. So this is, please note that under the Representation of People Act, only convicted lawmakers are disqualified, not accused ones. So there should be a law that disqualifies persons against whom the charges of heinous crimes have been framed. That's what the Supreme Court has observed. And regarding the government's reply, Attorney General K.K. Venugopal submitted that the fast track courts to try the accused politicians were the only solution. Mr. Venugopal said that charges in such cases are kept pending for long as the witnesses does not testify as the Whistleblowers Protection Act, which protect the informers, is too weak to protect them or their families from further consequences. So that's all important about this particular article. So please note the certain provisions of the Whistleblowers Protection Bill and this particular provisions of the RPA, that is Representation of People Act of 1951, and also the Whistleblowers Protection Bill of the concerned year. I don't exactly remember in which year it was passed. It seems it was after 2015 or 16. Anyway, I'll look into it. So moving on to the next article, Rajya Sabha passes amendments to the SC and ST Act. So overturning the March 2018 Supreme Court judgment pertaining to the safeguard against the arrest under the Act, the bill was passed by Lok Sabha earlier this week. So the amendments provide that no preliminary inquiry will be required for registration of an FIR against any person under the Act, and the investigating officer does not require any approval for carrying out the arrest if necessary. The provision of anticipatory bail, as allowed by the Supreme Court, has also been done away with. So the changes were, first one is regarding the bail provision, second one is regarding the approval provision for the investigating officer, and the third one is regarding the preliminary inquiry. So that's all about this particular news. Moving on to the next one, it is regarding the NRC. So a rights body in Assam has urged the state coordinator for NRC to make the legacy data available on its web portal. So what exactly is this legacy data? It is a set of documents comprising the NRC of 1951 and the electoral rolls up to March 24 of 1971, which is the cutoff date for detecting foreigners in Assam. So the main the credible ground on which the body makes this comment is that uploading the data would help the people who were left out of the NRC draft, which was published on July 30. Many of them are illiterate, and due to illiteracy and the sheer ignorance, they may have, it is highly possible that they have been left out because of these two factors. They are not in a position to identify what caused them being, or what's the reason behind they are being pushed out of the NRC. That's what the Citizens Right Preservation Committee has said in this news. So NRC officials said that the legacy data was available online for 3 years after the exercise began. It is now under the login credentials, which means that access is limited to certain officials. Public access to legacy data was reportedly withdrawn after cases of misuse. So that's all about this particular article. Moving on to the next one, it is US related. That is, it is about the sanctions, the tussle between the US and Russia. So US hits Russia with the new sanctions. That's the new news regarding this. So this is again a stark, a stark departure from the stance of Donald Trump, because some weeks before we saw in Helsinki that he went to the extent of forging a deep relation with his Russian counterpart Putin, and he even went to the extent of disclaiming various comments made by CIA regarding the Russian meddling in presidential elections of the US. So the Trump administration said on Wednesday that it would soon impose new sanctions against Russia in response to the attempted assassination in March of a former Russian spy living in England with his daughter. Under the terms of the sanctions, any attempt by the US company to obtain an export license to sell anything with a potential national security purpose, that is, can be gas turbines, it can be electronics, it can be IC chips, will be automatically denied. So I'm repeating the statement once again. Under the terms of this particular sanctions, any attempt by the US company to obtain an export license to sell anything with a potential national security purpose will be automatically denied. Exporters can attempt to prove that the goods will be used for legitimate purpose, but this is going to be a tough hurdle. So the sanctions were imposed under the provisions of the Chemical and Biological Weapons Control and Warfare Elimination Act of 1991, which mandates that once the government has determined that a country has used chemical or biological weapons in violation of the international law, or even made substantial preparation to do so, sanctions can be imposed. I wish to repeat the statement once again. The sanctions were imposed under the provisions of the Chemical and Biological Weapons Control and Warfare Elimination Act of 1991, which mandates that once the government has determined that a country has used biological or chemical weapons in violation of the international law, sanctions can be imposed. So, following this, uh, there was severe consequences in Russia, especially their currency started coming down and their stocks started coming down. So the Kremlin on Thursday vowed to retaliate the US against the unacceptable sanctions. So anyway, let's see how things are going to evolve after this. So next is regarding the spat between Saudi Arabia and Canada. And Trudeau stands firm amid dispute with Saudi Arabia. So yesterday we have, or some days before, not some days before, it was yesterday that we noted Canada made a comment regarding a human rights activist who has been detained in Saudi Arabia and is a citizen of Canada also. So Riyadh was severely, like they were very angry regarding the comment made by Canada. So Riyadh now the situation is they are they have said that it will relocate the students of Saudi Arabia studying in Canada to other countries, while the state airline Saudia has announced that it was suspending their flights to Toronto. But at the same time, Justin Trudeau, that is the Prime Minister of Canada, has clearly said that Canada will always speak strongly and clearly in private and in public on questions on human rights. So, further straining the ties between Saudi and Canada, the central bank instructed its overseas asset managers to dispose of their Canadian equities, bonds, and cash holdings, no matter the cost. So, but in an important apparent effort to safeguard its economic interest, Saudi Energy Minister Khalid Al Fatih said that the dispute will not affect the state oil giant Aramco's clients in Canada. Saudi oil supplies are independent of the political considerations. So that's all the development of this particular news. Moving on to the next one, it is regarding the remittances. So the UAE is the top source of inward remittances in 2016-17. That's what RBI has said. So once again, UAE has emerged as a top source for inward remittances, while Kerala has received the maximum funds sent from abroad. UAE's total share in the remittances was 26.9, followed by the US 22%, Saudi Arabia 11%, Qatar 6.5, and Kuwait 5.5. So RDA, that is rupee drawing arrangement, is the most popular channel for remittances, which accounts for 75% of the remittances, followed by SWIFT, direct funds, checks, and various other things. Private banks got lion's share in the total remittances, while the public bank sector was relatively very much low. That's what this news is about. Anyway, we'll look into what exactly is this rupee drawing arrangement in the last part of our explanation. So moving on to the next slide. Walmart may seek IT review on liability, that is income tax review on liability. So yesterday we read that the Walmart Flipkart deal has been approved by the Competition Commission of India, and we also went through some background information of the Competition Commission of India, especially regarding the tribunal and all that, that is Competition Tribunal Compact. So right now let's come to this news. Following the CCI's notes to the Walmart Flipkart deal, the Income Tax Department expects Walmart to approach the department under Section 197 of the Income Tax Act within a fortnight. So under Section 197, any NRI selling shares can give reasons to the Indian authorities as to why they should be taxed at a lower or nil rate in India. Walmart last month assured the IT department that it would fulfill all tax obligations. So the department has been reviewing the Section 9 of the IT Act, which deals with the indirect provisions, to see if the benefits under the bilateral tax treaties with countries like Singapore and Mauritius could be available to the foreign investors selling stakes to the Walmart, because Flipkart is a Singapore registered company. And please remind that Singapore, the owners of Flipkart, that is Sachin and Bini Bensal, registered the company to Singapore because of the limit in FDI regulations in e-commerce here. So that's all about this particular news. Anyway, let's see what Income Tax Department is going to say regarding this particular deal. So coming to the last news of today, that is Indian telescope spot a distant radio galaxy. So what exactly is a radio galaxy? This is something that is luminous in radio frequencies. Any galactical shape that is luminous in radio frequencies is a radio galaxy. So astronomers have used an Indian telescope to discover the most distant radio galaxy ever known, located 12 billion light years away. So the galaxy, from a time when the universe was only 7% of its age, its current age was found using the giant meter wave radio telescope in Pune. That is giant meter wave radio telescope. So it is an array of 30 fully steerable parabolic radio telescopes of 45-meter diameter, and it is operated at the National Center for Radio Astrophysics. So radio galaxies are very rare objects in the universe. They are colossal galaxies with a supermassive black hole in their center and actively accretes gas and dust from its surroundings. This activity initiates the launch of high energy. Anyway, let's not go deep into it because that's not necessary. I think going deep into what exactly how this luminosity comes into, or what are the constituents of this radio galaxy, let's not go deep into it. So as I promised before, the rupee drawing arrangement. This is a channel or a method to obtain money from overseas in the form of remittances or gifts. It is usually limited only to individuals only, but a certain limit of money exchange for the trade purposes can also be done via RDA. Only certain category of bank, that is AD1, that is authorized dealer 1, the level of permit allowed to the bank exchange allowed to a bank to exchange foreign currency as per the RBI directives. So only those banks that have been given the tag of authorized dealer 1 is allowed to transact via RDA. In this arrangement, the authorized bank use approved exchange houses as their representative in a foreign land, which are also approved by the RBI, to perform the monetary exchange under the RDA. So the limit is now 15 lakhs. Actually, the 15 lakhs on trade related exchange. Otherwise, for individual exchanges and all that, there is absolutely no limit. And another scheme or another similar scheme is the money transfer service scheme, that is MTSS. It is quite similar to the RDA, except for the limitation that they have. They can only be used to remit money to close relatives for Indians and for transference of funds to foreign tourists and their families. Any other kind of remittances like donation, trade remittances or charity funds are not allowed. Not here, are not allowed via MTSS. On this arrangement, this arrangement works quite similar to the RDA. The foreign money transfer companies are called overseas principal, and the Indian agents are AD1 compliant banks who are responsible for distribution of the funds sent by the overseas principal at the current currency exchange rate. So there is also a limit to the MTSS, that is $2,500. That is, it amounts to around, I think, something like 1,70,000 rupees or something. It seems so. Anyway, please calculate it. And there is, however, allowance for cash remittance. Unlike the RDA, which has no provision for cash remittance, the current limit is now 50,000, and any money exceeding this can be paid via check. So if you have any queries regarding both these channels for receiving or sending remittances, please go through the link that I have mentioned here. It is from this particular page that I made this slide. So it would be much beneficial if you visit this particular page and read all of that for yourself. So that's all about today's news. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you like this video, please hit the like button and do share it with your friends. So you can follow us on Telegram, and you can also visit our blog, that is www.knowledgehouse.co, and we'll be coming up with more interesting and compelling videos regarding various parts of the UPSC and various other government examinations. So please do subscribe our channel so that you won't miss any updates from us. Thank you very much for watching once again. Have a great day.